Welcome to video 14 of 19. In this video, we're going to be talking about steps 49 through 53. How do I actually apply a decal to a custom-made pen? You can see in the video there that these are the actual decals that we made in a previous video. And now I'm looking at the different placement. One of the important things in terms of customization is the fact that you need to know the buyer's or the pen collector's writing hand. Do they write with their right hand or the left hand? It doesn't make a difference in terms of my Craftsman mark that you see there, the PJR that's currently being positioned over the end of the pen, where I've got the V mark in there. But it does make a difference in terms of where it's going to be placed on the pen barrel. You're also looking now at the 2-pound cut. This standard 2-pound cut. This is a Zinsser shellac. I have not diluted this as I had the previous shellac, the 1 pound that I diluted with 100% in the same volume as the shellac. But I'm now taking a 1200 grit and just barely roughing up the surface of where the Craftsman mark is going to be going at the top cap end, and on the opposite side roughing up where the client's name would normally be going, pen collector's name. In this case we're going to call the pen collector 62 step pen is the pen collector's name on this particular this particular pen. Step 50 is applying the decal with a 2-pound shellac. So here I'm just placing it for where I'm going to go. I've stirred gently the shellac. I want it to be completely stirred, but I don't want a whole lot of bubbles, even for this process. The decal's been cut out of the decal sheet that we made. I've just got a small strip of a post-it note so that it can stick to the top of it, so I can dip it into the 2-pound shellac. And now I'm spreading the shellac that is on the top of the mylar onto the pen barrel and turning it over and applying it directly to the pen barrel now. Shellac has got a saying of sticks to everything and everything sticks to shellac. So rather than using some sort of adhesive that, again, the manufacturer and distributor of these decals recommend for most projects, doesn't really work for a pen because it has to be permanent. It has to be I want it to be all natural materials, so the shellac is just a great choice for applying the decal to the pen barrel. One of the major challenges and there's several about putting a decal onto a pen, but one of the challenges is that the pen barrel itself is round. It's also curved, and the decal, while the mylar is very, very thin, like I said, is probably 5/1000ths of an inch according to my micrometer, but it still wants to lay flat, and so you'll see me with fingers and various other instruments here try to get the decal as flat and adhere to the pen barrel in basically 3 dimensions. It's there's a dimension of length, height, and width, and there's a particular point right here at the barrel's crest, the widest part of the barrel, that it continues to want to come up and off of it. And so as it's drying and it starts getting tacky, I want to do the best I can in terms of having all the air bubbles out from underneath, having it lie as close and as tight to the pen barrel as possible. This plastic strip is a nice strip because it has enough force to push down on the mylar decal, but at the same time isn't so wide like my finger is in terms of getting stuck onto the drying but tacky shellac. And the point that I'm trying to get down and continues to resist is going to end up biting me in the butt, and we'll see how that turns out when it's the next stage of letting this dry and coming back and removing the mylar. The lesson I learned here, by the way, is have the decal, if I would have scooted it down towards the tip by just 1 letter's worth, quite literally, I won't be running into a problem I'm going to run into with the removal of this particular decal. So I learned something in this particular application that I had not run into before, and we'll talk about what that is and how we deal with it further down into the videos. Again, this is in the process of drying. Shellac dries relatively quick, although the mylar is a barrier to air barrier to the drying process, so it doesn't dry as fast as it would be if it was just sitting on the surface. In this shot, we now turn the barrel over. I dipped in the Craftsman's mark, the PJR. I put this on all of my pens. And I, again, flip it upside down, kind of rubbing that part that I sanded with the top portion, flip it over, and now you'll see me just put my fingernail on it to take the post-it note off. And again, use this plastic strip because I want to get all the excess shellac that is underneath the decal at this stage out from underneath it, because I want it to be as close and as tight to the wood barrel as possible. And so it's important to get all of the shellac that's underneath, if you will. It's almost like squeegeeing it out. I'm not so concerned about it getting on the barrel, staying on the barrel at this stage. We'll come back and clean that up. The main point at this part of the application of applying the decal is to get the decal close and tight to the barrel, and all the liquid or all the excess fluid shellac out from underneath it. Come back and just try to do a final touch on the major decal here. This would be the name decal. Once it gets dry enough, I can use the back of my fingernail to again apply some pressure to the decal, getting any other excess shellac from underneath it. Just checking the rotation, making sure that I've done it in all the different places. Checking the back side. And now we're going to leave it for 24 hours to dry. So this is 24 hours later. This is what I've ended up with. And now it's time to kind of clean it up. So I clean it up with a P2000 grit. And what's beautiful about this is the Mylar top now becomes my friend. It is a amazingly durable material, surprisingly so. Because what the Mylar is doing now is protecting my decal that's underneath it. And I can get as close and as tight to that Mylar. And I'm actually sanding on top of the Mylar, because any of the shellac that's on top of the Mylar is going to be coming off anyhow with the Mylar. But more importantly, the shellac that I have squeegeed out on all edges at this stage, top, bottom, left, and right of the decal, I can come in now and sand that smooth, hand sand it smooth, as you're seeing there, all around the decal, going right up and over it. I don't think I've ever gone through it, frankly. And this is a targeted but firm hand sanding to get rid of any of the lumps or high points that has been caused by the shellac that is at this stage completely dry. Check continuously for how smooth it is, or any aberrations in terms of the sight line. So I'm continuing to rotate it back and forth. While the shellac is dry, the Mylar is frankly stuck. And it's stuck pretty well to the shellac and the decal underneath it. So I don't think I've ever had an instance where the Mylar has kind of come off prematurely or on its own during this process. And at the same time, I'm pretty careful about where I'm doing that sanding process. Now in my shop, I do not have an air compressor, but one of the best ways I've found of removing the decal Mylar is to use a air. And so I just buy little cans of air. It's got this little nozzle on it that you see there, the little red nozzle. And basically what I want to do is I just want to free up a corner with my fingernail, preferably not with a metal tool, otherwise that will scratch into the surface that I don't care to be scratching into. But if I can just lift up a wee corner, it gives me two indications. One is that it really is dry. There have been some cases with some woods that I'll do this and I can feel it still being a little bit tacky underneath, which means that it's not completely dry yet, and I'll just let it go for another day or so. In this case, you can see that it's starting to come up quite easily, and I get just a little bit of a corner there. And now I'll put my fingernail on the other side of it just so that when it flies up, I know that it's up and off. And there it is. It comes off 100%, and 100% of the decal material, in this case it's the holographic gold on my Craftsman Mark PJR, is now attached to the pen barrel with that the 2-pound shellac. brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. 100% perfect. So I figure the other side is dry. It looks like it's got a free corner there. It's coming up quite easily. Again, I put my fingernail on the other side. It just flies up with a whoosh of the air blast. And this is about 99% fantastically beautiful with one little speck. It's like the bottom half of the corner of the N in the pen. That was that part that I was futzing with. And one of the things that I learned here is that I'm just over the crest. So 98% of this decal is kind of coming up the slope from the tip, but right there with my finger, and if you look at the crest of the pen itself, the N is kind of just over the border. And so what that caused is that was never really, if you will, glued down with the shellac. The mylar, my guess is that it was forced upwards because the mylar wants to be straight, and again, on a 3D surface of a pen, you're fighting the forces of not being straight. And so I'm just demonstrating where the crest is, coming up from either side from the tip end, right there. And that is exactly right there where the N and the mylar would not cooperate to bend down into the curvature of the pen. So this is where 62 steps become about 72 steps with redoing that. But I return wood and reconnect people to their original and innate brilliance that has been there, is there now, and will always be there. Hope you enjoyed the journey.